Good morning,
All
everyone.
right.
This
Good
is
morning.
a different
Morning.
kind of schedule for most of us because who we have here is actually a morning person. And in fact, he just came from a meeting. If you're not aware, there is such a meeting called BNI that actually meets at around 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Actually, they start their
Really
meeting.
early in the morning.
That's for the
We actually
winner.
have a open networking around 6:30 to
Yes.
6:45, and the official meeting starts at around 7.
There
So
you go. So you have
some
to
of
wake
the
up at
early birds
5.
are in around 6 or even quarter to 6, super early.
So that's a little preview of who our guest is because he's a morning person. And he's not just a morning person. By the way,
Coffee,
this
guys,
is
coffee.
welcome to the live. By the way, this is our regular weekly Facebook podcast live that we do now at the Big Picture. And this is episode 71 if you're not aware of it. And yes, there are other 70 other amazing shows like this one. So do check them out. But today we are featuring someone actually the he's not just a morning person, but he is the executive vice president of Golden Prince Hotel and Suites and Golden Valley Hotel since 2018 until today. And he has worked with the president, directly with the president, and a lean team in guiding the. And this is what I'm going to focus on, I guess, today, Sir Aaron, right? Our organizational transition during this new normal COVID-19 global pandemic. So it has aggressively, like, changed the whole business world with this, even the hotels. And I'm really interested about that as we go along. Maybe we can really dig deep to that. So please help me welcome a trainer, a speaker, a mentor, Sir Aaron
Marketer, entrepreneur.
Q.
Aaron Q.
Hi,
All
so
right.
Bulawanong Buntag, everyone. I'd like to say Bulawanong Buntag, or in English, that's actually a golden morning to all of you. That
Yes.
has been our standard greeting. Dave and Joseph, thank you for inviting me to the big picture, no? The big
The,
picture.ph.
yes, that's
So
correct.
Yes.
you're right. What you mentioned is right. The global pandemic has really affected businesses, both small and big, MSMEs,
Mm.
especially our industry, right? I come from tourism and hospitality. I'm proud to say that Golden Valley has been here since 1994. So our very first company, Golden Valley Hotel in downtown, has been operating for 26 years now. Last
Wow.
year we had a big anniversary entitled 25, which is 25, and this year would have been our 26th anniversary. So I'm very proud that that's how we started as a very small, humble property downtown, very near San Carlos, very near Santo Rosario Church, and it led to more growth through Golden Prince. Golden Prince started back in 2006. No, we were only a 57-room property. We only had one restaurant at the time, and we only had one function room. But we slowly expanded. In 2016, eventually, if you could see in my background, it's already a two-tower property. That's over 160 rooms. We have 8 over function rooms and 5 different food and beverage outlets. So growth, I believe, is incremental if you're talking about business. So COVID-19 is very different. It's a very different ball game. It started off for us around March because the quarantine restrictions started to happen around mid-March. But I tell you what, guys, when we started the year with a huge bang, usually it starts with Sinulog and a whole lot of other events. Grabe. Um, in February, when we started to hear a lot of news out there about what's happening in China, what's happening in some of our key markets abroad, as a hotel, we had to slowly position ourselves. The important thing is to really do a lot of mind setting, no? So that's what we did back in February. A lot of mind setting, a lot of sessions, telling the employees, telling the customers, this is how it's gonna be, and the restrictions happen. So yeah, I guess that's a starting point. Dave and Joseph.
Okay, yeah, Aaron, that's a very interesting topic, and really like to cover that. I think a little bit later, because both Dave and I are very interested in how the hotel industry are I would you say coping with or transitioning to the new normal. But let's take our audience back, and let's have them listen to your story, because that's how we always roll with TBP. We'd like to talk to you and get to know you more. Can you talk about yourself and your entrepreneurial journey, and going into now the two towers that and the lean team that you're managing?
All right, thanks, Joseph. Right now is September 20 of 2020, right? I mean, sorry, September 17 of 2020.
Yes.
Yes.
As we approach October, I'll be honest with you, it's actually my 10th year in the company.
Wow.
So I'll take you back to the beginning, back in 2010, right?
Right.
When I was still working in Singapore at the time. Then I was about to finish my internship over there.
Uh-huh.
My dad and uncle was trying to call me back over. It's like, we need your assistance with Golden Prince because we have a lot of plans back in 2010. So I came back. I started my career. I gave them a huge presentation in the boardroom. And it was like a pretty solid business plan because I'm actually a business student from the University of Auckland. So I presented them this business plan. My dad and uncle were looking at it. They're like nodding. Very good, very good. First day on the job, that's what I did. Pero the funny story is my uncle and dad, they said, I'm going to give you this broom. I need you to go to the restaurant and do some cleaning first. So at that moment, that already set the tone for my
I love how I did
career hospitality. So they started by giving me all these tools, this broom and all this equipment. Start learning about this. Go down to the ground and get your hands dirty. So I think that's a very good lesson. It's very humbling in a sense. That's how I started my career in the stewarding, pretty much. I had to mop the area. I had to wash all the dishes. Grabe.
Wow.
That was October of 2010.
That's basically starting from the ground for you.
Yeah. So that's actually how I
this
started.
Is this a normal practice for Chinese businesses, or this is really your dad and uncle's philosophy?
I think everyone has different approaches, but based on how we were raised, it's very important to talk about values. They talk about values almost every single day. So they would talk about how my grandmother and granddad went through certain struggles, and in order for you to really be honed in life, you have to go through these struggles as well. So they feel if I started on that footing where, okay, I show you a business plan and I'm going to lead this team to newer heights, it's like, no, kid, this is not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to start from the ground and do something from the bottom, and then you start there pretty much.
Yeah. And
I
like
think it's
that.
all about the values of humility, integrity, and building up yourself.
but,
So
I
yeah.
like that because I like that the values came from the stories of your of your grandparents, and basically like just learning from how they made it and what are the values that goes with it, because sometimes Aaron, it gets lost towards the third or fourth generation. And I really like that. I that reminded me and Dave of a lot of generational, I would say, businesses that we've interviewed here in the podcast, right, Dave?
yeah, so one of our guests, Evangeline, right? You should check out her interview as well. Uh, she from the Grid, and what else are her company? The Port, right?
Support.
Yeah, so she has also gone through the similar situation where they ground up, and I think we should follow that, especially if, the because sometimes we are not aware of all of these. No, most of our listeners probably are not aware of handling big companies like yours, Aaron, right? But for those who are starting, I think it's a good lesson to, because sometimes if I'm not a parent yet, and I know Joe is a parent, and I can sense that he kind of like spoils his kids as well, right? But yeah, but it's a way of training kids for the next, because if they live a comfortable life, I think what made us today is the uncomfortable situations that we had before that made us persevere today, right? And if we take our kids or our younger people, take that away from them, then they will not grow or
Yeah.
mature as much. I'm just voicing out.
I like what Gary Vaynerchuk said. He said that when he was growing up, he had a really hard time just getting what the things that he needs, and this is what he said, and that will always be my advantage
Yeah,
against my kids, or I don't know,
yeah, something
because
like that.
now his kids basically would get anything right away,
Yeah,
and
Yes.
for
unless
him he
you
has to
unless you
work it
let them
out.
unless you let them broom the whole.
Right, and that's exactly what, yeah, that's what I like about this story, Aaron, that you're saying that sometimes we feel like the younger generation feels like, oh, we have it all together, we
Entitled,
have the
right?
schools, we have the learning, and then you
Yes.
know our parents, our uncle would tell us, this is the reality, guys, you have to learn it from the ground up. Otherwise, you're not going to manage it properly. So that really made an impression to you, Aaron. And what else are the lessons growing up? And then, like, how did you, like, what are the things that you've learned? And then how did
Maybe in
you,
the 10 years, right? How
yeah, in the
did
10
you
years?
become this? You're now the executive vice president. I
Right.
think you're the next in in the hierarchy, right? But yeah, can you share more about how you gone through that from broom to executive vice
From to
president,
tower. Was it?
broom to tower?
That's amazing. From broom okay, we'll go step by step. When I was first given the broom, I was given the task to clean all the items in the kitchen area, even doing the dishwashing. It was a very tough first week, honestly. You would feel sort of like discouraged, because at first, during that time, as a young kid, you come out of college, you come out of one of the top universities, and you're expected to do something great, supposedly, and then you're hit with something like that, diba? So, but they're trying to teach you a lesson of patience and perseverance. I believe that's a very crucial lesson to teach the younger generation these days. So, if you infuse that, that's a crucial element to importance of growth. So when I started off, after doing that, they they slowly gave a little bit more responsibility at a time. So this is where we come into incremental growth. They notice your progress, they give a manager assigned to you, and they actually mentor you during that
Wow.
process. They never leave you. So there's a mentor for every aspect, whether it's the
Wow.
rooms division, for front office, for food and beverage. There's always someone there coaching you on the side. This is not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to do it this way. And
Yeah.
what was interesting about 2010, as a small, humble company, we were learning along the way, and we were learning together as a group. So being a young company at the time, 2006 to 2010, so Golden Prince was only like 4 to 5 years. We were learning from each other.
Mm.
I feel that's very important in an organization where you have this open-mindedness. That's one of the values that was taught to me at a very young age also. You have to be open-minded to what's happening around you, and then you have to adapt to that, and then you have to discuss it amongst your peers, your heads, your um, rank and file, and that's where you start sharing with each other that experience. So I believe that was part of my growth in the early years.
Yeah, and I think you've mentioned a very interesting thing here, Aaron, right? You've mentioned mentors. I really love that. And having every aspect,
Yes.
like, and as a business, as it grows, we learn. And I don't know if you'd agree. I don't have a hotel, right? I don't own a hotel just yet. But I want to make sure. Let's be optimistic here. But the point here is that these businesses, they don't just come out of nowhere and it all stood up. Golden Prince is there. Actually, it was years of hard work of building the systems, like of mentors. And I don't know if you would agree, right? And I think you are leaning to that. So how is important is are these systems establishing this? I bet you have better like systems now, like organized teams, and because you're handling more and more employees. Am I correct, right?
Yes. So if we fast forward to the present time, we are trying to build something known as a learning organization.
Learning organization.
Um,
Okay.
so before, briefings used to be, okay, guys, this is what's happening today. This is the occupancy. It used to be kind of that robotic phase. Learning is turning it into case studies. Okay, guys, this is what happened yesterday. Mr. So and so gave you this particular comments. This is what he said. These are the good points. These are the bad points. What are we going to learn from that? So if you have that process of constantly improving yourself, turning it into learning, turning briefings into a learning session, sort of like a classroom, I think it becomes a little bit more interesting. And as team members, they get to grow from it even more. They get to see it from a different perspective. In this case, they get to see it from a bigger picture, diba?
Yeah. Wow. Yes.
So I think somehow it relates. You allow everyone to wear different hats, or we call it wearing different shoes. So you're not just thinking from your own department. Like, I'm not just a front office. I also have to think from the kitchen's perspective. The kitchen has to think from the engineering's perspective or the security's perspective. It's no longer about iyahay ba? Like, oh, that's
I
his,
love
that's
that.
mine. That's where you start to see a bit more collaboration and cooperation within the organization, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yes.
There's this book I've been reading right now. Actually, I'm finishing it up. It's Extreme Ownership by Joko Willink.
Joko
And
Willing.
this actually covers it, right? Where
Right.
you are responsible for the next person, for your team, and whatever. If someone fails, it's your failure. It's really your failure as well. And I think this is a really nice system to add to any business. I would say I'm actually applying it with my own as well. Like, if even if you're just a writer or something on my digital business, right? You actually affect the other people around you if you delay your work, or not, have some issues with your work, or be tardy or whatnot, right? So it affects the whole team. So and at the end of the day, it's my fault, right? Because I'm the leader. I should be the one responsible for that. It's really important aspect. And
Yeah.
how did this? Yeah. So Joe, I'm gonna ask this question with Aaron right now,
Right.
because despite this learning organization that you have, no one has prepared this pandemic. I don't know if you were able to adapt right away, which you probably did, because you did it February. You already had some plans. So can you tell us more about how you adapt this? And Joe actually is very familiar with this industry as well, with real estate. So maybe he can add into some questions. But yeah, how did you adapt as a hotel? Did you close at all? Did you stop your services or whatnot? Yeah, go ahead.
Back in February and March, I mentioned that it was a lot of mind setting. What I meant by that was we invited guest speakers from Department of Health,
Wow.
from different government agencies. Okay, guys, please give our employees perspective on what's really happening out there. So even as early as Feb and March, this was not done digitally yet, by the way, because quarantine restrictions only came in mid-March. So they did all these talks. What is COVID-19? What effects will this have? What is a COVID-19 task force? So all of these inputs, maybe they were not able to learn it in one go, but we feel that learning is also about repetition. So kami, our role as leaders, together with my uncle and also some of our team leaders, the important thing is to keep repeating it on a daily basis. Bisaya, we call that gubang plaka, but you have to say it in a way where you have to keep repeating it. Eventually, it's going to sink in. So
Yeah.
that's one of the key elements actually of learning. If that doesn't happen, then it's not going to stick. I'm not sure if you guys agree with that, but
Yeah. You
you
cannot expect
you have to
everyone,
keep
right,
repeating. You can't expect them to learn it in
to
one
learn
go.
at one
Not
time. Yeah.
everyone is programmed that way or built that way. No. So that's what we did in March. When the restrictions started to happen, I feel the key element also is communication. I think this will be a good topic to talk about next. Um, we were one of the first to adapt to these type of Zoom calls, and we have some team leaders who are actually of age, mga 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. It was very interesting to teach them how to adapt to these digital tools, but they had to connect to Zoom so that we can constantly have these forums, these dialogues with the team members, where we can update them on a daily basis. This is what's happening. You mentioned something about the way the team adapted. At first, it wasn't easy. It You have to teach them step by step, and you have to be very patient. So that's what we did along the way, early in February and March.
Mm.
So you already have a little bit of knowledge that this might go big. In terms of operation, like what are the adjustments that you made?
Also, it was huge. Honestly, Golden Prince and Golden Valley back in the day, we would get 800 to 1,000 guests on a daily basis.
Wow.
The basic idea of hotels is crowds, diba?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have people eating in the buffet, breakfast, lunch, dinner. You would have people in all the function rooms having parties, having seminars, having socials, having conferences or whatnot, trainings. You would have people in the cafes having all these mini meetings and stuff. So the adjustment was huge because um, crowds can no longer gather. So one of the biggest adjustments was that how are we going to repurpose the different spaces? That was one of the biggest questions that we had to ask ourselves, and the industry also had to ask themselves during that time. No, what really kept us afloat during that period? There's something known as business sustainability. So some companies who rent particular rooms in a hotel, such as the BPOs
Mm.
or the knowledge processing industries, some of them would rent out the rooms
Okay.
for their employees, shuttle them from their office to our place. That's kind of what kept the industry
Kind of
going for some
secure.
time.
So this is
Uh,
business continuity plan, right? Something
Business
like that.
continuity, yes,
Yeah.
that's part
Okay.
of the sustainability. So you're right, the BCP.
Yeah.
Of course, you would remember that there was a lot of repatriation, a
Mm.
lot of OFWs coming from abroad, where they're going to stay. Um, so we've had this for some time at Golden Valley, and this is what keeps us going. And
Aaron,
yeah, Joseph.
let me just butt in a little bit, and just to explain to our audience right now who are listening to this and listening to this in replay. The business continuity plan is very important, guys, for businesses, because usually what you do is you actually plan ahead. If something happens, like a calamity would happen, let's just say the whole office would burn down, right? You need to, in order for the business to continue and continue operating, you need to have that in place. So normally, if I remember correctly in my corporate days, you have contacts with different hotels, different locations, different systems, basically different locations that they have the same, I would say, bandwidth criteria. So normally, like you go to hotels that meets your criteria in terms of, let's just say you have a call center. So the internet basically in that hotel needs to serve as well in the same level as you're in the office. So um, this is something that's new to me. I think it was not very clear to me up until I went to the management level. But this is very important for businesses. So if you have a business, it's really important to put this in place. And that's what happened. That's basically what Aaron's saying. Like your Golden Prince became part of that business continuity plan, and that helped you your business stay afloat and also keep operating. I would say keep operating during the stretch of the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I would also like to
go ahead.
add something, or
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Dave,
Go
you were
ahead.
going to
Go
say
ahead.
something?
Go ahead. Yeah.
In the early part of February and March, if you notice, we're very near Perpetual Sucor and the different
Mm.
hospitals as well. The important thing that as a hotel we could do is provide them food, no?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of provisions to frontliners, no matter what hospital they are. Even some of the police, some of the garbage collectors, the security guards, the nurses. We had to provide for them in terms of
Right.
packed meals. Um, we would be a constant supply and support for them just to nourish some of their needs during that time also ba. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add in the early parts of February and March.
So
That's
you
what
provide
kept us
support to the
busy.
community also, as an organization, you provide support to the community. And it's very important. I really appreciate it reading all about that, Aaron, when organizations like what you have in Golden Prince are supporting the community as well, like really having this understanding that we're all in this together. And if
All
we
of it
need to help
together.
each other to really, it's not really someone's game. I like what you said about um, removing silos within your organization. And it looks like during the March timeframe, you guys are in the forefront of removing silos as well as the other parts of the community by providing aid. So like we're now on the what six month,
6 months.
yeah, around
Yeah.
Six
that.
months.
What are the strategies moving forward? Are you guys open now, by the way, to some
All right. So
degree?
what we're doing is we currently have these, as I said, long-term contracts with different corporates and different companies, right?
Right.
But we're not necessarily like open to the public, because if you allow that to happen, you're going to have a lot of variability. You have so
Right.
many people coming in and out of the property, and
It's very hard to track.
it's very hard to track. We do have our own contact tracing app, which we developed using our own in-house team.
Mm.
Wow.
The thing is, we don't want to be part of the second or third wave. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You don't want your name to
th-
be in there.
yeah.
Uh,
So there's a
listed.
phraseology that we mentioned within our company. It's called moving forward but keep safe.
Yeah.
Moving forward but keep safe. What does that mean? We want to open up the economy little by little, but baby steps. Baby steps.
Being
Um,
conservative, basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow I'd say neutral, even Joseph, neutral in the sense where you don't fully open it up, but you are still accepting selected guests.
Mm.
We feel that's important because you have to pre-screen the guest now. What is
Right.
your health history?
Mm.
Okay,
Right.
so far you've been staying in house for some time already. Okay, we can check you in. We have to be a bit more stringent now in terms of who's coming in, and that's the only way to move forward and be careful. So
Yeah.
So
that's what
you
happened.
actually have people who would. So before it's just like people would go to the hotel, they would check in, they would give their identification. Right now, prior to them coming in, you do like
Screening.
screening.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Instead of people coming in to just walk in and okay, I want to book a room for tonight, there has to be a correspondence early on
Mm.
prior to their arrival, so at least we get to know them a little bit more. Are you an OFW? You have an elderly living with you in the house. What is your purpose of staying in the property?
Mm.
So what we've noticed is we have entrepreneurs who just want to focus on work.
Right.
They want to get a lot of work done in the past few months. They get a decent internet, and they don't want all that background noise. You have kids running around. You have
Oh,
all
yeah.
Right.
the hens, all the chickens. So they want to stay in the property, get some focus work done, and that's what we've noticed as the trend
Mm.
these days. That's in our
Interesting.
case.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And and that so you're basically like selecting now your so it's really interesting because now you do a lot of work in terms of just screening and but I really understand the idea. The idea is preserve the preserve so that there will be no new contamination, right? And then basically just
Essentially, it's like a bubble.
create a bubble. Really interesting.
Trying to create a bubble within the property because we have different rooms assigned for the in-house staff who have been here since the beginning of March.
For
You
6
have
months
assigned
now.
rooms for the long-term clientele, and then you have rooms that are assigned for the
How does the
new
buffet
guests that
work?
are coming in. Sorry?
How does the buffet work? Do you still have that the open buffet, or it's changed?
In terms of government mandates, especially from like IATF, buffets are kind of discouraged. So normally you have these meals in a box that you provide to the customers on a
rooms.
daily basis,
Okay.
depending on their nutritional needs.
Wow. And so you have to go deliver this daily on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Wow. And this is so how long do you think it would like basing on your outlook, how do you think it would remain this way?
As I mentioned, we're doing it step by step. In the middle of the quarantine, if I'm not mistaken, right after ECQ, we already started having these mga pocket events.
Okay.
So meetings of 20, they want to have a Zoom conference, there are about 30 persons. We started to accept small groups like that. And then obviously those groups stay in-house. They stay in-house. They have a meeting for the whole day. Next day,
it's still within
they
the
just
bubble.
rest. Yeah. So it's
interesting,
we're trying to be very careful. We're trying to be very, very careful. The approach for others would be very different. It's like, okay, let's accept as many people as we can. But we believe the important thing is to help the economy grow. But at the same time, we have to remember that the virus is still out there. So we have to take these measures very seriously.
And here's the thing, there's no like clear instruction, or I'm assuming lang na there is no such thing coming from the government, what really is this and that. There's so many loopholes, so many things left, uncleared on how to actually operate with businesses like yours, right? So it's really up to you now on how to develop this and adapt with the whole thing. And I just want to say that I'm happy that you're actually doing this, that you're really particular with the safety of people, right? Because if it would be having a regular business, just accept, and all of a sudden the next wave is coming in. So I do have a question for you, Sir Aaron. In regards to revenue, like if you're open to it, like how is the company coping with that? Are we even breaking even, or even earning as much as like as expected? Or can you shed some light with that?
All right, so I mentioned earlier, Dave, that imagine the hotel used to be this crowd drawing business, and of course with all the restrictions and because of COVID, you can't attract the same amount of crowds or the same volume as you're used to. So that's why I mentioned you have to do these baby steps, right? So just by that statement, the revenue drop is huge. It's huge because we are a crowd drawing business. The important aspect before to stay afloat was to get as many people eating in the buffet, to get many people eating in all the parties, having all these party packages, etc. Right now, it's sort of starting from scratch and then just allowing the consumers to get comfortable. And I believe we're doing a pretty good job educating them on the importance of health and safety. In that other podcast, Dave, you saw me wearing a very nice uniform. We even have reminders, no? Social distancing is important, diba? Wear a mask. So we are pretty much like a walking billboard of health and safety. I think DOH should commend us for that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Um,
So.
so I hope that answers your question. Yeah, the revenue cut is huge after what we're used to before.
Mm,
But the important thing now is to continue to survive as a business, trying to come up with different ways to connect. And our belief, it's not about hard selling to the clients now.
mm,
The important thing is to approach the clients in a way, what kind of help do you need during this pandemic? You're trying to reach out to them as a human being, connect to them at that emotional level, and just assist each other. It's all about community survival. Mm-mm.
yeah. In terms of employees, have you like laid off some people, or is it we're still trying to maintain them over this past few months?
All right. So when when the pandemic started, when all the restrictions started back in mid March, we had to ask all the employees, whom of you are willing to be the heroes and
Wow.
stay in house?
I love that
So
question.
so there are a few who raised their hands. Okay, sir, I don't have any family here. I'll stay in house. And
Mm,
then they decided to be part of the in-house um, team for the past couple of 6 months. And um, that's the most crucial aspect because every employee has different priorities. Some have kids, so they opted to either work from home. Some opted to just stay out. Um, what happened between February to September, which is now, we just had to constantly give the employees some form of support, whether it's um, through these Zoom calls, trying to catch up with them, or even financial support. So, which we scheduled February, March, all the way till a certain period. That's the reality right now. You can't really. You have to sort of like plan the budget very carefully.
mm,
Even in July and August, we did what's known as a suri mini suri. We went all the way to the north of Cebu down to the south, just to catch up with some of the employees who are stuck there.
oh wow.
Gave them a bit of rice, gave them some canned goods.
Yeah.
So just to show them, hey, we're still here, guys. I hope you're doing okay. Actually, ang uban, ninambok na gani. So that's telling you, I think we overfed some of them.
Yeah, it's really interesting to know this, and I really like the point that you made. That's clear decision, right? You asked them, okay, who wants to go in house, and I think having that decision early on, like a clear step, making a clear decision to make this happen. What are we? This is what's happening. What are we gonna do next, right? Would really help them understand. And I like how you mentioned February pa lang you already had that mind setting now. Okay, this is somehow what will happen. And I think it involved a bit about already na, yeah, maybe some of you might would have need to stop working and all that. So I think that's really important kaysa diretso na out of nowhere wala na, no?
Yeah,
And my
constant
last
communication.
yeah, that would be good. My last question for this part of our interview, Aaron, is that I'm just curious about this because this is a big business, and I'm curious about the how this finance work in this kind of business. Did we have like this much reserve, or yeah? Can you shed some light on how big businesses like this one works with reserves and all that?
All right. So over the years, there you have to plan your budgets in a way that are kind of long term, right?
Mm.
So
How
every business is very
how long?
different.
Yeah.
So I could only speak on behalf of our company, right?
Yes.
If you're talking about reserves, I tell you, even if you have like a huge well, eventually the water is gonna be depleted, right? So you have to come up with constant ideas. How am I gonna get newer streams of revenue, even though it's not as much as what I'm used to before? The important thing is to constantly put water into the stream, because even if you had a huge amount of reserves
Mm.
um, from the past, especially the good years like last year, 2018 or whatnot, there will come a point where it will deplete in the future. We don't want that to happen, so you have to find ways to add more streams of revenue. I feel that's important. Uh-uh.
Yeah.
In your case, just to follow up to that, what you said, like what are the new streams of revenue, if you're free to talk about that, that you're looking at?
Well, one of the first things we did, this was around March and April, we launched a site known as foodtogo.goldenprincehotel.com.
Mhm.
So a lot of people are craving for food, especially for all these online meetings and whatnot. They just a few clicks of a button, we will deliver it to their houses on the spot. Some of their favorites.
Mm.
So some of our popular menu items like empanada,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
beef
to vouch for
saltico.
this because I've personally tasted this, and they really have good food. Whenever we have Toastmaster meetings in Golden Prince, we're well fed.
Well fed, yes.
So go ahead,
Okay.
yeah. So that was one of them, or one of the main things.
Yeah, that's one of the main things. And um, of course, the other aspect is also trying to get these pocket meetings, just getting people comfortable coming back together again. And you could really see the human connection, no? It's very different if you are seeing each other
For the first time.
online. For the first time, you see them live. Honestly, we had to remind them again, please don't beso-beso or hug each other. Okay, you know, we are still in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be careful. Um, even kami, Dave, Joseph, we no longer shake hands
Shake
with each
hands.
other like that.
Oh yeah,
No,
yeah.
we have
Remember.
a new
Just a fist
normal
bump.
greeting, which is something like this.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
Bulawan buntag, sir, ma'am, diba? So it's kind of this new way of greeting. It's a new way of, um, we have to educate the new ways of interaction, diba? Especially with meetings like this.
Hmm.
So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. Let me just like share a little bit of something personal. The first person that I met outside of my family was, I think, 3 weeks ago, with a friend, a common friend of Dave and I. It was like I said, like, you're the first person that I met the past 6 months outside of my family. Okay,
Yeah.
and but even then, she has to be like 3 meters away from me.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
both drinking coffee. My wife is on my side, and we're both drinking coffee, the three of us. So it's kind of weird. I don't know, like, feel like you want to,
Hug
shake
them and all. Yeah.
hands, and you want to be, quote unquote, go back to normal. But then there are certain restrictions. You also care for them. You don't really know if you have it, because like sometimes it's asymptomatic. But anyway, so people are trying to really get into go back to normal. That's really important.
Yeah.
Just striving to, and like you said, Aaron, it's baby steps and really taking short, small and calculated steps moving forward. So
I'd
maybe my
like to
last
add
question.
something,
Go ahead. Yes.
Joseph and Dave,
Yes.
with regards to what you're mentioning about that. No, our stance as a property, especially for Golden Prince and Golden Valley, if you notice our messaging on our page, it's not really to hard sell. Hey, please buy this, please
Right.
buy that, please book here, please book now. We're trying to connect with the customers because everyone is struggling right now. The key is to actually see areas where we can help them. Because with all this struggle, in order for the community to survive, you have to assist each other. That's the point of being in this whole village as a group. So it's not just our industry. We're trying to reach out to others also. How are you going to connect with them in that manner? And I believe this is the only way to move forward. No, yeah. So that's what I wanted to add to that
I like
previous
that.
statement.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, it's really about coming together. And I guess that also is a good segue to my last question for you, Aaron. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of small and medium businessmen and women who are watching the show or watching the replay. or listen to the podcast, who are also trying to figure out how they can, I would say, ease their business in through this new normal, or even this within the pandemic. What are the advice that you can give to them, so that at least they will have a clue or an understanding on what's the best way to move forward with this?
All right. So one of the pointers, you would have to start with pretty much lifelong learning. Very crucial. You have to find new ways to reskill. You have to change your attitude on life, have a bit more of this positive mindset, and you have to grow your knowledge base pretty much. I feel that's very important, because if you're just stuck there, you're used to doing things how you're used to doing, it's not going to happen. You have to find new methods and new approaches to, I think, a paradigm shift pretty much. That's how I wanted to summarize the phrase. A paradigm shift is what it takes. How is my business going to help that community or that particular group in this new way? Shall I share a story?
Yes,
Go ahead.
There was a group of people that were supposed to book a reunion with us around the Burr months. It's a big family, all abroad and stuff. You know what we did? We converted it into a virtual reunion. Obviously, we didn't get paid for that particular service, but we wanted the different family members to connect through Zoom. So it was fun in a sense where we played music during that particular program, and then we programmed it in a way where the seniors can talk, the second generation can talk, and then the younger third generation will have this presentation. It became a very fulfilling experience in a way. So even though they were not able to see each other physically at the hotel, which they would normally do on a constant basis, this year was very different. So it had to be converted into that online approach. So that leads me to my second point, digitization. As companies, you have to get into the digital sphere. How is your business going to approach it in that way? How are you going to reach more customers through the digital sphere? Okay, that's the only way to get transactions these days, or gain more from business. So I guess those are two particular insights. I'm sure there are more, but I feel those are the most important. It's all about learning. It's all about the digital spheres.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, so I think I think Joe actually is first and foremost a learner of this too, and has been adapting to the digital as well as been adapting to how to even.
Your business is already online by itself.
Yeah, it's because it's online. I kind of have like that online proof, but the thing is, I had to adapt as well in a way that I need to adapt in a way that how can I also make sure that I still keep on hitting my targets despite the whole thing, because I lost some clients then, Joe, with the whole pandemic.
Yeah.
A lot of them are in the travel podcast
We're all
realm.
adjusting also, right?
Yeah, so so that was a good thing to
Yeah,
note.
and that's a very interesting part, Dave. I'd just like to share a little bit, because since I think April this year, I've been getting a lot of calls in Zoom, and these are 50 something people, like women mostly, who are just telling me like, Joe, this is the first time I had a Zoom call. Can you teach me to market my products in social media? And I have to explain to them like, okay, these are the opportunities for you in social media. And it's really interesting about what you're saying, Aaron, about reskilling, paradigm shift, because a lot of people are really trying their best to get to that digitalization space, because they understand like this is no longer the case. Like couple of clients that I have are actually insurance teams, not agents, but teams, where they would say we cannot sell anymore face to face. So how can we use social media as a platform to sell to a lot of people? And just really this understanding that, the old ways may not, be possible anymore throughout the stretch of this pandemic. But then you can still do something. And this is very important for businesses, right? To really, I would say, rethink. And I really like what saying, Aaron. Like, you really have to rethink, and you really have to. What I like what you said is this: you really have to think how your business can help, because sometimes we're thinking like, how can my business earn from this during this pandemic? But what you're saying is actually a paradigm shift, where you say like, how can my
Different
business
perspective.
yeah, it's a small shift, but it's a very, very dramatic shift in perspective, and I really, really like that.
All right.
I tell you what, Dave and Joseph, you've been to so many Facebook groups. What is the percentage of online sellers versus the buyers? Honestly, everyone out there is right. Everyone is trying to
Everyone's a seller.
come up with something, but right now we're at a stage where we have to help each other. That's I think for me that's one of the key pointers that I wanted to mention, especially moving forward in a new normal. We have to assist each other now. This is the call of the time.
I like that. I mean, this is something that we need to keep doing, and this is exactly why, here in the big picture, we're pulling together the different businesses in. Every single week we have people like you, and really just having that, I would say that in the same spirit, we're really, not just promoting each other, but really, connecting with one another, and how can we help each other, and how can we help businesses who are also trying to figure out what it means to be inside, operating inside a pandemic, and even, moving forward.
Yeah. And I think that's a good wrap up for our interview session.
Yeah.
Aaron, right? Hopefully you have still have time. We still have
Thanks,
6 minutes
Dave.
left before
Joseph.
10. But yes, let's get into what we call our lightning round.
Lightning round.
Wow. Whoa. Those lightning, right?
until we can afford the lightning. All right.
Yeah, so
Aaron,
this is let me ask the first question, Joe. So this is
ahead,
like the fire lightning round, so you can answer as quick as you can, or as brief as you can. So first, my question is, who or what inspires you, Aaron, to wake up in the morning?
My family.
Oh wow, that's good.
My
Yes.
family, pretty much. My dad, mom, uncles.
Yeah.
Actually, we're a village. My brother.
Awesome. I like that. Aaron, next question would be, what book, show, resource, podcast, anything that you can recommend to our viewers right now?
Word for today.
What is
Wow,
that?
what's that?
It's not really a book. It's like a daily devotional.
Oh, I like that.
You have to read that on a daily basis. It would really help you in your daily life.
Yeah. I forgot to mention
That's new. That's new. Very good.
that's good. That's a good tip. Actually, is actually also affiliated. What was this church? Bread of Life Church. Yeah. So I forgot to mention that in the introduction.
Bread of Life. Yes.
Yes. So, all right. So, what is your morning routine, Aaron? I know you're a morning person, or is it just Thursdays with your BNI meeting because you're forced to join?
No.
Is it really okay?
No, Dave. Honestly, before we go to work, we are actually obliged. So we have to be up usually before 7 a.m. We have to like visit the garden because it's therapeutic in a way. You breathe in oxygen. You feel a bit more calm mentally, and also a little bit of prayer time. What else we do? We do a bit of jog, just a little bit around the house, around the compound. So that's what our mornings are like. If you're talking about routine, Monday to Sunday is very different. Each day is so different. There's not really like a routine per se, because even though if you have these usual meetings in the morning, afternoon is just one thing after another. Whether it's podcasts like this or webinars of some other groups, etc. So each day is different. There's no routine per se in my life.
All right.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, is this something that just came up during the pandemic or prior
To the
prior
radio
has it been like
stations,
this
you
for
would
you?
visit um, the actual event itself. These podcasts through Dave and some other organization during the
Okay.
or in person. In person,
Right.
yes.
Next question for me. Do you consider yourself successful?
Well, I feel that okay. I'm just entering my 30s, right?
Wow. You're young.
Yeah.
I mean, to this very day, I'd say to some extent yes, because I'm living my purpose-driven life. So thank God I'm still here, and just want to share with everyone that this is my second life, because when I was young, around 7, I had this vehicular accident. I nearly got killed, but by the grace of God, I was able to, still live a pretty decent life, and um, just doing our best to help the different people, the different communities, the employees, the clients. Um, but there's a lot to be done. There's a lot more to do. So you just have to live one day at a time.
I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think this is also a good reminder. I'm gonna add into that because the pandemic actually gave us second chances. A lot of people, diba? Because you never know when it will
That's a
hit
good
us.
perspective, Dave.
Yeah, it's we're
I
living
like that.
second chances life now, guys. So if you're watching
Yes.
this, I want you to be reminded about that. Be happy, and also try your best because there's, as Aaron mentioned, there's a lot to be done. All right. So my last question for me is from this lightning round is that we have a lot, and you probably have answered this a bit already, but I wanna learn more about your personal answer about this. So we have a lot of OFW listeners, and maybe some people who are in stuck with a job that they don't like, or just maybe lost their job already. And and here you are, you're still finding your ways, trying to still be staying afloat. What's your one tip, like your one life advice for these people on how to move forward, or just what's the next step for them?
Okay, I think the most crucial thing is they have to join a community or a village or a group.
A
Like
tribe.
you, me, Dave, we know the Toastmasters very well. Earlier, we mentioned the JCs. There are Rotarians out there, Lions. I come
BNI, of
from a
course.
morning breakfast club, BNI, Business Network International, and of course the Cebu Chamber of Commerce, HRAC. All of these, they have to fit somewhere, somehow. Um, I'm sure you're making waves in the podcast industry, in the hotels, amongst each other. We also share insights. We do these small talks once in a while. The reason is for them to join a community, at least they stay relevant. They get to hear what's happening out there, and they say, okay, this is what I can offer to them. So I feel that's the most crucial thing that they have to do as of this moment. Join a particular group or community, and secondly, contribute. You have to contribute, otherwise you're just going to be like an audience there, seeing all these posts, but you're not really contributing. So you honestly have to take part and join and be part of something. What can I give to the community rather than what can I take from the community? So that's the most important insight I'd like to share today.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Amazing. Yes.
Aaron, you're absolutely right. Okay. Basically, like being part of the community will really not just strengthen you, because you're also, you're basically going with a flow, basically stronger, also mentally, and you can see what other people are doing. What I really like about that is that you get a pulse of what's happening in that
Pulse.
community and in the industry.
Pulse.
It's really, really good. This is my last question for you, Aaron, and I would always say this is the hardest question in the lightning round. Where can people find more about you, Golden Prince, your work, or even B9?
Well, usually what they do is they kind of approach me through Facebook, or they can subscribe to some of my YouTube content. I'm trying to put more educational content there through these mini podcasts.
So you have a channel?
Yeah,
YouTube channel.
just
yeah.
look for. I'll send the link here probably later.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We'll post that because
in the case of
Go ahead.
in the case of Golden Prince, pretty much you can see a lot of updates there. Facebook.com/Golden Prince Hotel or Facebook.com/Golden Valley Hotel. So those are areas where you could see some of our company updates, what we're doing now, some of the milestones, and some of the moving forward plans. Yeah.
Awesome. So, like what Dave said, for those of you who are listening to the podcast, go to the
Big
show notes
picture.
page.
Yes, that's the bigpicture.ph/episode 71. Amazing.
Right. Awesome.
Thanks.
All right, so that's a wrap.
Right.
Actually, this is thank you so much, Sir Aaron, for having us. Gracing us with your presence at the early morning. We were forced to stay up morning, but hopefully our listeners were able to just check it out, and also were able to attend. Feel free to watch the review or the replay. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Sir Aaron. Yeah, that's about it for me. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, guys, please subscribe, and then tag the people who you think will be helped by this session. Definitely, you will learn a lot of you have a lot of gems in this session. All right, so this has been amazing morning for all of you. Good morning to everybody. And if you're catching up the live, if you're watching by the replay, please do #replay so we'll know that you're watching the replay. All right. Any last words for you from you, Aaron?
So just want everyone to continue to please take care, keep safe, God bless, and have a golden day, guys.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So this is Dave.
Dave.
Yeah, that's
This
it.
is Joe.
This
And
is
this
Joe. Aaron.
Aaron. Saying goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.